You don't always want to get soda either. Rooster Brewster's a little bit better, I think, and they've got a really good one. I'm going to show you. It's even way better than all the rest of them right here. It's a pretty good one right there. It's sugar-free, and it's white tea. Antioxidant. Right now we're going to do the vitamin one.
Thank you. See you next time. You got cash.
So, I got these guys right here, which is hot and spicy. They're peanuts. Very, very good. Made by Lance. And I grabbed some of these beef, stick, and cheese. 8 grams of protein. So it's pretty good right here. And then I got some of the ICA berry. It's like an herbal berry drink. It's purple. It's a vitamin water. Let's put that. All-CA berry is what I think it is. And it's a triple X vitamin water. It's pretty good. All right. Heading back. DFW Horizons. Right, kitty? Meow. So we're on the opposite side of where Mike Judge filmed Office Space 1999 with Jennifer Aniston and Ron Livingston. So you film it from the other side, but we're going to do this anyway. Here's where I'm at. 635. It's interstate. And it's that building, which is connected to the Galleria. It's the Westin Hotel, right over there. We're going to be approaching it. So Office Space stars Ron Livingston, plays Peter Gibbons, who comes up with an idea. He creates, him and an associate that knows how to do it, creates a program that takes a fraction of a penny off these transactions, I guess through their payment process. Just a fraction of a penny, but it's mini payments because it's a huge company. And he, I think that money is like deposited into some kind of account where they can go to an ATM and take some of the money out. I don't know exactly how much they plan to take, but there's also a character in it named Milton who's very, very obsessed with his red stapler. And it kind of talks like this. It's like, where's my red stapler? I want to know my red stapler. Now, Milton no longer works for the company, but they didn't want to like just, you know, trespass him from the office. So they gave him a desk in the basement and let him kind of sit there and work. I think he secretly lived with his mom, and he'd go to work and talk about a red stapler. The guy in Platoon that plays one of the soldiers in Platoon, he's in it. He plays one of the office workers. One of the office managers. He's the guy in Platoon that goes, "Hey, Sarge, man, I don't feel good about this, man." He wants to have R&R. Kind of talks in this New York accent. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna get some R&R." He's chewing gum all the time. He's that guy in Platoon. He's like, "I don't feel good about this one, Sarge, man." And Tom Berenger tells him, "I need every swinging DICK out in the jungle," and makes them stay because they're going to be overrun by the VC and they're in the middle of war zone. He is in Office Space, believe it or not. I'll have to get his name. I'm gonna look up his name in a minute. Some of these actors, they never stick with me. Like I never really get it. But I know this is a long shot, but that's the Westin. That's one of the buildings that's in it. And I'll try to remember to show you the screenshot that I just now took of it then and now that's online. It's really funny too. There's a moment where they take a copier out in the field, baseball bats, and they beat it up very badly, the copy machine, because it wouldn't do what they wanted. It's known as the forward FCA system. Comes and goes depending on the mosquitoes. Yeah, they take a Xerox copy or something of that nature, and they take it out in the field. Peter Gibbons and this other dorky guy and this other guy from India, they just beat the crap out of this copy machine to this rap music. I think I did a segment on that. I'll probably do another segment maybe. So the reason why I know that it's the other way is because that building that sticks out this way is sticking out the other side. Also, they've lowered, John told me, he was one of the guys that just gave a ride. He told me that they've lowered some of this right here. Actually, no, they've risen it. Sorry, it's on like stilts now. So it used to not be on stilts. Now we're like on a bridge kind of thing. We're like above ground. This has been raised, so we're above ground. It used to be flatter on the ground. They did that to widen the roads. There it is, the Westin Galleria. First shot and the only shot done in Dallas of the great comedy of 1999 known as Office Space. And we're going to look through the rearview mirror to see a similar shot. Here we go. See it? There it is. That's more of the same angle. See how the building goes out to the right, right here. Right that way. Kind of veers over to the right. That's how you can tell. I think this building might be in it too. And then on the other side over here, and I'm going to use the rearview mirror, move the rearview mirror that way. Those buildings are in it too, right there. Pretty cool, huh? So that building's in it, and those buildings are in it, right there. Mike Judge's Office Space. We're on 635. Sorry about the Dutch angle. That's like a Dutch angle. They belong to Jesus Christ. It's like a person cannot own children. They belong to Jesus Christ. A child belongs to God. Nobody owns a child. Nobody owns another person. Those things don't happen. All children at the age probably about 18 or so, in many cases they eventually move on. Not all cases. Some kids stay at home for a long, long time. But their parents end up dying, and then they have to move on. They can remember them in pictures and stuff like that. But a child belongs to God. That's the ultimate destination of all children that you can say grow into adults. Okay, if you want to use the adult name, but we're all children of God, and we belong to God, including my children. Everybody does. You belong to God if you're listening to this. Everyone belongs to God. We're all God's children. And that's what the Bible says, which is the book of life that represents love and hope and faith. And the greatest of it is love. Faith, hope, and love. The greatest of these is love. And that's why they belong to God, because God is love. That's why I'm a dad. Came out of love. A love for God. Number 2. All right, start timers. First timer, stopwatch. Second one, countdown. And the third one, alarm, just to make sure. Timer set. Looks like it says solar on it. For sure, though. I don't know if it's a band sticker or what it is. But it's something. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Alright, entry 7. Over that way. So here is the QR scanner right here. That's what I was just talking about. It scans it right there. Boom. I almost gave her my YouTube show. I wasn't able to, though. She's kind of very interesting lady. Very businesslike, kind of werewolfy a little bit, but I look for that now when I'm like, can they play a werewolf? You know, one thing that she did that I thought was interesting was she was kind of like yawning. It was like, oh, it sounded kind of canine, but you know, I think I would say maybe she was Indian descent. It's interesting because of the way they kind of talk and stuff, but. I don't know. I think if Linda plays it, it'll be a little more comical. But there's always a sequel. There's a sequel to other. The idea behind Grace 2 and also the sequel, well, the sequel would be called Grace 2, I guess, is that the town becomes werewolves. So if they're having a conversation like a coffee bar or something like that, they would, you know, before they would change into a werewolf because they wouldn't do it until it was a full moon. They would also exhibit the signs of a werewolf. You know, like maybe they yawn funny, like, or something interesting that they would do. They would respond to the moon in a weird way, so there would be some comedy in that aspect. I know I've seen some kind of movie that's similar to that before, but this is like where like everyone's a werewolf, so it's not you know, it's not out of the normal in the sequel. Just like in True Blood, everyone's a vampire and they just talk about True Blood because the government allows them to have True Blood, so that way they don't go off and, you know, kill people. In this case, a werewolf doesn't take the meat. Like the vampire needs the blood, the werewolf doesn't. So it would have to be contained. You know, the town would have to be contained. You know, they would have to contain the town, kind of thing. You know, where, you know, if you were accidentally to come across the town and everybody's a werewolf, you would be quite the victim. I gotta put my GPS in a minute, but interesting. In the sequel of Grace, there would be like a segment where, like, well, they'd drive by or something, a moment would happen, and then like this shadowy werewolf creature just runs by and goes into a house, because the whole town is like werewolves, so they still remember where they live and stuff. They would go off to like a neighboring town probably, because they wouldn't feast on themselves. They'd feast on victims, because it comes out of anger, out of irrationale. It's not like the vampire. The vampire is it's like a passionate romance with the vampire. It's in like love and I'm trying to think of the right word. That's what I hate sometimes, these words. I'm actually a writer and I struggle with words and remembering the right words and stuff. But the vampire is almost like a romance. The werewolf is a lust. The werewolf kills not to stay alive, but out of anger, and it's like it's a slaughtering, but it's not something that the werewolf needs to live. The werewolf doesn't need to kill, but it does anyway. The vampire takes blood to stay alive, or it loses its power and eventually dies. It has to have the blood to live. The werewolf doesn't. That's the big difference. And that's why the vampire is bound in like romance and love. And we'll bring the vampires in the sequel to Grace. There'll be vampires that show up to kind of talk with the werewolves, you know, to try to have an understanding, because they get some of their victims, you know. The vampires lose it to werewolves who just waste it, you know. They're wasteful creatures. One's deep romance, the other one's lust and anger and hunger. Well, no, I take that back. The vampire is going to be more hungry. The werewolf doesn't have to be hungry. He's doing it out of like anger. Yeah, anger is the key to the werewolf, while hunger is the key to the vampire, I think. The vampire needs the blood. The werewolf doesn't. He just aimlessly slaughters. It's a senseless action. There are similarities to the vampire and the werewolf, but I see the vampire as like related to lost love, longing and wanting to be with that loved one, a love that they have that's eternal, that goes on and on and on. That's not the case with the werewolf. The werewolf is more childlike and animalistic and random. Madness. There's no sense to it. The vampire is methodical. Plans it for a while, right? The vampire is different. Many killers have been compared to vampires, but the werewolf is just like randomly just, like a monster, like a wild beast. And the curse is that they become this beast. The vampire is still in control. Dracula was always in control. The werewolf is not in control. Not until the moon shines upon it and the lycanthropy curse goes about and it turns into a werewolf and it's out of control. It can't control or think or anything. So there's a difference between the two. They're not exactly the same. That's why I say the werewolf is more childlike and kind of stupid. While the vampire is intelligent and wise and knows where to get the blood. Yeah, the wolf wouldn't even really be able to plan it. It would just happen, and they would react. They'd see the victim, and boom, it'd be very difficult for them to live in a community. Only they would recognize each other by the smell, so they wouldn't attack each other because they can smell another werewolf. And so they would go and find other victims from their werewolf town, the town of Barksville. They don't say the town of Barksville, but there is a sign somewhere in there that will say town of Barksville. The sound of barking. Anyway, it's a lot of fun. Romantic love versus lust and anger. What's also interesting about the vampire, according to Coppola and Mary Shelley possibly, is that it can shapeshift as well. Like, for example, it can turn into a bat. And in Coppola's version, it turns into a werewolf or something of that nature, just for a moment. That's dealing with a different type of shapeshift. So we'd have to, you'd have to read Mary Shelley's Brahms' Dracula. But he does turn into a bat. We know that, or he can turn into a bat. I don't know about Gary Oldman. He might know a lot about it. The shape-shifting curse coming out of, lycanthropy, which is the werewolf, is certainly connected to the vampirism. Does Gerald Oldman III believe in vampires? He doesn't talk about it in the script, not in this season, not in this movie, not in this version. The word vampire is never mentioned. Let's just put it that way. But in the sequel, the vampires will come in to control the town. And the town is certainly, a town where you would show up and just disappear if you're a regular person. This is for the sequel. And the vampires eventually think that they would come in to kind of control the loss of blood, to try to harvest some for themselves. The blood is almost the capital, for what they're, for what they want. So the werewolf, sheds it and wastes it, and the vampires, why are you so wasteful? There would be conversations like that. Now, what's interesting, does Gerald Oldman become affected? The answer is yes, he does. Because he gets hit by the werewolf, right? He gets scratched at the end, and they haul him off in the ambulance. That's why he looks at the cat, because he realizes what the cat is. After, of course, he's scratched. There's a reason for all of the plot, if you follow the plot of Grace, which is a little scattered, and it's not perfect by far, but the story is there. It's awaiting to be undug. So, yes, Gerald, when he's being hauled off to the ambulance, notices the cat for the first time, because the cat is the keeper of the curse. Remember, we're dealing with a shapeshifter. That will lead into the sequel, because later in the sequel, Gerald Oldman III comes back, and he is a werewolf. The hunter himself, So he understands them very well in the sequel, because he's hunted them for a long time. And then he has to deal with the vampires. Right, because the vampires come in. He's like, look, I've been dealing with these werewolves for a very long time. I've been hunting them from the UK all the way to the United States for several, you know, at least a few decades. When I first started this escapade, and every full moon I have to deal with shifting into one of them. So he would bargain with the vampires when they would come in to try to control the town later on. He'd be one of their leaders. You know, lo and behold, one of the werewolf's hunters would become a werewolf himself, and also then become a leader of the tribe, because the werewolves have tribes. And so the vampire would come in to try to control everything, a very authoritative figure, you know, the kind of thing. Control the curse. The answer is, would that really work? Keep it simple and stupid. As long as you keep it simple and stupid, then sure, it'll work fine. Because the story is only part of the palette of the film itself. The film can do quite a bit on top of the story. I'm talking about the scripted words. It's enough, my friend. It's enough. Note to rideshare driver, we're at $3.19 on gas. We'll see it over this way. Sorry, I'm doing a full 360. $3.19 on gas. You want to get a little bit each time when you get lower gas prices. You want to spend a little bit more on gas when you can, even if it's a little bit. Because once that puppy goes up, then you lose money. It's kind of like the Wall Street market going up and down. So just get a little bit every once in a while. Lady looks like a gypsy. What she was wearing was very gypsy-like. This is very werewolfy. To me it is. So you're going to see a lot of me on the road lately. Quite a bit. Because my quota's changed. I go by a quota. Lance, hot nut peanuts. You've seen them vlog before, just real quick. Hot nuts, peanuts, eat them by Lance. They're hot, spicy peanuts. Okay, hot, spicy peanuts, Lance, eat them. Okay, you're going to be seeing a lot of me on the road because my quota has gotten higher over this damn ticket stuff. Watch out for the Dutch angle. Now, we're going to go through purple, which is symbolic to the Christian religion, going through like a purple wash, a feel, a purpleness. There we go, purple. And this werewolf thing, I'm gonna try to sell. It could solve a lot of my problems. A screenwriter, when they're serious, they don't get any less than $100,000 if they're making a deal. That's the very least on a screenwriter deal. If you got anything less, you're gonna pick a sign and start striking like WGA. You would never even talk to a screenwriter about an opportunity in movies without advancing them about $100,000 for sure. So that's what, you know, if we got down to talking at a table saying, well, we're going to do this film, and that's just $100,000. It's called an advance. If I'm on board as the writer, which I'm the creator of vlog, well, Werevlog, it's Grace, aka Werevlog, then we would definitely be on board with $100,000. And that would, you know, me being a person that's only made $30,000 a year, well, 38,000 was the most, probably. And I'm exaggerating a little bit about that. I'm very poor. Then I would become very rich, and to other writers, it's really nothing. 100 grand. And to filmmakers, that's just, you know, catering money. But then the rest of my life would be dedicated to entertaining you in a very serious way through movies, which is not the same as vlog. But I find vlogs very entertaining, personally. It's just there's a lot of art to a movie, especially the acting. It's very controlled, it's very analyzed. The story is thought out. Even the costume people get paid thousands and thousands of dollars a day just to be there to make sure the costumes are good. The hair people, to make sure the hair goes through. You know, if you're in a movie, you have a hair designer. They get credit. They're part of the union. A lot of people get a lot of money. So a movie is a very big deal. Almost as big of a deal as the gaming industry, although the gaming industry makes more money. But still, we're talking about video games. But the movie is a big, big deal because many people are buying it. So find some Lance hot and spicy, eat them, they're very good. So just a shout out to Breck Roll and Escaping the Mouse. The Meow Wolf thing is cool. I picked up some of the three guys, or there's 3 people, they were in charge of setting up a lot of that Meow Wolf stuff. They flew in from New Mexico. I gave them a ride to one terminal to another. I just ran right into them. They look like interesting people. Yeah, they told me about Grapevine Mills Mall and Meow Wolf and everything. Great vlog, you know. It was wonderful to see it. I loved all the dissolves and just all the little moments in it. It's so far one of my favorite. I think it's my favorite vlog that you've done is the Meow Wolf. It's very cool. It's in 3 parts. I recommend it. It's Escaping the Mouse. It's Breck Roll. He came from California to live in Texas in Waco. He drove all the way out to Grapevine, which is right out here, to go through Meow Wolf. He gives a pricing information if you want to go to Meow Wolf. It's at Grapevine Mills Mall. But I picked up the guys that were in charge of constructing a lot of it. They're really busy. They're big time Comic-Con dorks. They appear to be. I don't know if they really are, but I would tag them as Comic-Con dorks. Anyway, it's out in Grapevine Mills Mall. Head back for number 3. There's a light above that American flag. A new driver right there. He said please be patient, new driver on the go to this one. From Colorado. That was brother Kevin coming out. Well, he was a pastor in Memphis for a few years, and he was a pastor in the ATL. That's what I'm just guessing. I don't know. He was coming from Atlanta. But he's been a pastor for 27 years, and he's just now starting to go to seminary. And I was like, amen. But, you know, that seminary, it can help. It can help. It structures thing. I was told by some DTS students, you know, because I tried to be a pastor myself at my church, and they told me to stay away from seminary. They said, don't worry about seminary. You'll be a good pastor, Cole. But my flock is, right now is just Linda and a few friends that have joined me on the crusade. And here and there I meet my flock sometimes. Or I don't know, I want to get into it. I think it's probably going to be the YouTube guys that have helped me out, and I do appreciate every single one of them and everything they've given. But they hear my little sermons here and there. They're having it right there. They've got his cousin is a famous gospel singer. Goes by the last name is Anderson. And I told him about Aaron Michelle. Aaron Michelle sang at my second wedding, and for free. It was absolutely brilliant. Aaron Michelle is recorded out of Nashville, and she's a gospel singer. His cousin's name ends in Anderson. So I'm gonna have to. I want to say I'm gonna have to look it up, and then I'll tell you his first name. But he is he sings at a mega church. It's Stephen Anderson, and he sings at a mega church. So I had to look it up real quick there. And I'm pulling over here because we got on the toll, and I download Tollmate. I usually take care of it immediately to get that thing out of the way, just like my theft charge. Sorry about that, guys. We'll talk about that later. I don't know if I stop in the middle of the neighborhood, really. I'm looking for more of kind of like, oh boy, these dang tolls. A pastor that has a theft charge? I don't care. Well, I don't care right now, but yeah, well, it's a minor thing, but hey, the cop put it at the same as a traffic ticket, but it's not, so it's dealt with as what it is. Didn't take off with the money. God didn't give me that, so you don't get it that way. A lot of fear was put into me on this child support stuff, so I got really scared over a lot of things. I was getting garnished. There is something over there. It's like a gazebo way over that way. This is a whole park right here. So this should be legit to look at Tollmate. If you ever download Tollmate, it's like in the middle of the night. People are out kind of just looking at the pond. Well, hey, look, there's been pastors that have had worse, you know, but I'm not worried about it. All right, because I'm also an actor, so. All right, I looked at the Tollmate. It was zeroed out, so I noticed when we went through the little light, you know, the toll light, when you go under the toll, it usually flashes. I noticed it didn't flash. So the Puritans, when they came over to this country, they had to face judgment on their leaders that would come over here and judge them, because they didn't see themselves as more pure. That's not why they were Puritans. They were Puritans because they were trying to purify the church. They're trying to make sure that everybody in the church was of God's plan, and that was a problem because that led to the Salem witch trials. The witches were witches because they weren't pure. What did John Bunyan talk about? He talked about how there is no such thing as being clean. Bunyan really knew the gospel well, you know. He was kind of saying that there is no purity in the church. You know, we're all broken and impure. So the Puritans weren't really wrong. You know, they weren't saying, oh, we're more pure. They weren't saying that. They wanted to purify the church. And I guess in that action, I guess they were kind of wrong in a way because of the Salem witch trials. They became too radical about it. And they ended up, killing their own. But at least the overseers of the church, the ones that were in control, came over and started hanging them. None were burned, but they were hanged because they saw them as wrong. And that's evil. So there's no one group that's more pure than the other. Under the eyes of Christ, we're all his children that he has to deal with. Puritan or Catholic, it doesn't really matter. Whatever the belief, it doesn't matter. He's there for you. And that's the most important thing. That God is there for you. Jesus Christ is there for you. As long as you know you are you, then you'll know that Christ is there for you. That he'll pursue you. And he'll help you. Right, Kitty? Yeah. Yes, Kitty agrees. He even helps the pets too. He loves all of us, just like you love your pet and everything. Your cat or whatever. He's there for you. True love will find you in the end.